last investigation, I still think about Stefan. Not every day, but enough. Enough that sometimes I'll be in the middle of something completely normal, making coffee, driving somewhere, and it just hits me. That night, that hotel, the way things unfolded, I've never fully made peace with it. Stefan was a paranormal investigator, a real one, not the kind who just wants to be on camera. He'd been doing this for years before I ever met him, and he approached it seriously, methodically. He wasn't the type to spook easily. That's what made everything about that night so wrong. The call came from a hotel owner, 7 floors, older building, the kind of place that feels like it's holding something in. Staff had been complaining for weeks, guests too. After 11 at night, people were hearing things. A woman crying, screaming, footsteps running down empty hallways, objects breaking when nobody was near them, and every single time someone went to check, there was nothing. Just silence, just empty hallway. We showed up in the afternoon to walk the space. The 7th floor was where most of it was happening, so that's where we focused. We checked the rooms, noted the layout, set up our equipment. Standard stuff. We'd done it 100 times. That evening, we came back, set up more cameras, grabbed dinner downstairs. By 10, we were back up on 7. Stefan took one room, I took the other. Our cameraman stayed at the control setup in the hall, monitoring everything. For the first hour, nothing happened. I checked in with Stefan over the walkie. He said the same thing I was thinking. Nothing yet. We waited. Then I heard it. A loud bang from somewhere down the hall. I stepped out and moved toward it, one of the rooms. I pushed the door open, looked around. Nothing out of place, nothing at all. And then, laughter. Quiet but unmistakable, coming from down the hallway. I turned toward it. Stefan had stepped out of his room at the same moment. He'd heard it too. But he wasn't looking at the hallway. He was looking at me. His face had changed. "There was something behind you," he said. His voice was off, lower than usual. Black clothes, long black hair. It was right behind you, walking where you walked. I asked the cameraman immediately. He said the audio had picked up the sound, but the cameras showed nothing behind me, nothing at all. Then the lights went out. The whole floor, all at once. Stefan got his phone out and hit the light switch. The second the overhead light came back on, just for a moment, maybe 2 seconds, there was a figure standing at the end of the hallway, black, tall, face white and completely still, just watching us. We both stepped back, and then it was gone. A few minutes passed. Stefan said he was going back to his room. I headed to the bathroom, and then I heard him. "Help! Help me!" I ran. What I saw when I got to his room, I don't have a clean way to describe it. Stefan was outside the window, hanging upside down, feet tangled in the curtain rod wire. 7th floor. If that wire hadn't caught him, he would have been gone, simple as that. The cameraman and I grabbed him and pulled him back in. We called the investigation off right there. Back at the office, nobody really talked. We just kind of sat there. Stefan looked like a different person, pale, not really tracking the conversation. I got him some food. I told him to breathe. When he finally talked, this is what he told me. He said when he walked back into his room, something grabbed him by the throat, held him there. He couldn't move, couldn't breathe. He screamed and it released him, but when he turned to run, it grabbed his legs and threw him out the window. He said it was completely black, taller than anything human, 2 large teeth. "I can still feel it," he said. "Right now, like it's still pressing on me." I drove him home that morning. I told him to get some sleep, that I'd check on him. He seemed a little better by the time I left. About an hour after I got home, he called me. He was crying. He said it was outside his window, standing there, looking at him. I told him to stay calm. Told him I'd come by in the morning. He said okay. The call ended. I stayed up editing footage. Eventually, I went to sleep. The next morning, his girlfriend called me. She was barely able to get the words out. She said she'd come over that morning, and when she went to check on him in the bathroom, she found him, hanging. The police ruled it a suicide, and maybe that's the explanation that makes sense on paper. I understand why they landed there, but I was there that night. I saw what happened in that hotel. I heard Stefan's voice on the phone. That wasn't someone who had made a decision. That was someone who was terrified, someone who needed help and didn't get it in time. I don't know what followed him home that night. I don't know what was standing outside his window, but I know what I saw. And I know Stefan, and I don't believe he chose to die. I want to start by saying I'm not someone who scares easily. I've been overlanding for years. Long stretches of empty road, camping alone in the middle of nowhere, that's just Tuesday for me. I've had bears walk through my campsite. I've been stuck in weather that should have killed me. None of that ever really got under my skin the way this did. This happened on a solo run from California up to Alaska. 10 days, just me and my Tacoma. I'd done long hauls before, so the drive didn't intimidate me. What I didn't account for was what would happen when I stopped. I was maybe 5 hours out from my destination when I decided to call it for the night. It was 11 p.m. I was tired, and there's no point pushing it when you're that far into a drive. I pulled off, got the rooftop tent set up, made some food, sat by the fire for a while, had a drink. The kind of night that reminds you why you do this in the first place. Nothing felt wrong. That's the part I keep coming back to. Nothing felt wrong at all. I climbed into the tent around midnight, and that's when it started. 10, maybe 15 minutes after I laid down. Voices, right outside the truck. The low murmur of people talking, close enough that it should have been easy to see them. I grabbed my flashlight and went through the whole area. Nothing. Not a person, not an animal, not a single set of footprints in the dirt. I told myself I was exhausted, that it was just my brain filling in silence with noise the way it sometimes does when you're half asleep. I laid back down. Then something hit the tent, hard, like a rock. I was up instantly, light sweeping everywhere. Again, nothing. No rocks nearby that could have rolled, no one around. This kept happening. Every time I got close to sleep, something would pull me back out of it. And I'm not a superstitious person, I'm really not. But at some point, your gut overrules your logic. And my gut was done. I packed up and got back on the road. I don't know exactly how long I'd been driving when I saw him. A kid, side of the road, maybe 10 or 11 years old, waving me down. And look, I want to be clear about something. My first instinct wasn't fear, it was suspicion. Out here in the middle of the night on an empty highway, a kid that age alone doesn't make sense. It felt like a setup. I've heard enough stories. I kept driving, but as I passed him, I started hearing his voice. Stop, stop, behind me. And I mean right behind me, even though I was moving. The voice stayed with the truck. I sped up. The voice stayed. Then, somewhere between one breath and the next, it just stopped. I pulled over. I don't know why. I think part of me needed to confirm there was nothing there. I got out, did a full sweep with my flashlight. Empty road in both directions. No kid, no footprints, nothing. I got back in the truck. I looked over at the passenger seat. He was sitting there. All black clothes, face completely covered by dark cloth. And he was just still, not fidgeting the way kids do. Just sitting there with his hands in his lap, perfectly still. Before I could say anything, he spoke. Take me a little further up the road. That was it. That was all he said. Just kept repeating it over and over in this quiet, flat voice that had no business coming out of a kid that age. I asked him his name. Nothing. I asked where he lived. Nothing. I asked where he needed to go. He just said it again. Take me a little further up the road. My hands were shaking. I'm not going to pretend they weren't. I reached over and tried to pull the cloth off his face. He stopped me, not aggressively, just calmly put his hand up so I couldn't touch it. I pointed my flashlight directly at where his face should have been, and then he started growing. I know how that sounds. I know exactly how that sounds. But I watched it happen. That small body just expanding, slowly at first and then faster, his head pushing up toward the roof of the cab, then pressing against the windshield glass. And the voice changed with it. That child's voice dropped away completely, and what replaced it was something old, heavy, like a man who'd been around far longer than any person should be, still saying the same words, but in a register that made my stomach turn. He got out of the truck. I watched through the window as he just kept going up. 10 feet, 20, 30. Standing in the middle of that dark road, something that had been a child-sized shape in my passenger seat, now blocking out what little sky I could see. I floored it. Whatever that thing was, it grabbed the back of my truck. actually grabbed it and lifted the rear end off the ground. I could feel the tires spinning with nothing under them. I kept the accelerator pinned, didn't lift off for even a second, and eventually something gave and the truck lurched forward and I was moving again. I didn't stop until 5 a.m. when I hit a small town and pulled into the first restaurant I found. Sat in a booth for almost 2 hours before I felt like myself again. I've thought about that night a lot since then. I don't have an explanation for it. I've tried to come up with one and I can't. What I do know is that whatever was on that road, it wasn't lost. It wasn't looking for help. It was just waiting for someone to stop. I want to start by saying I'm not the kind of person who believes in this stuff. Or at least, I wasn't. I'm a software engineer now. I think logically. I solve problems with code. But there's a stretch of about 3 months from when I was in 11th grade that I genuinely cannot explain. And I've tried. Believe me, I've tried. It started with a stupid dare. 6 of us had gone out into the woods one afternoon, just messing around, the way you do when you're 16 and bored, and think nothing bad can ever happen to you. We'd brought food, drinks, walked way deeper into the trees than we probably should have. And at some point, we stumbled across this old graveyard, just sitting there in the middle of nowhere. Overgrown, forgotten looking. The kind of place that should have made us turn around. It didn't. One of my friends looked at me and grinned. He said if I went over and peed in the graveyard, he'd give me $50. I don't know why I did it. I think I just wanted to seem like I wasn't scared. So I walked in, did what he dared me to do, and walked back out laughing. Nothing happened. We went home. I had dinner. I went to sleep. And then, at 12:15 in the morning, I woke up. I don't know what woke me. I used the bathroom, came back to my room, and for some reason, I went to the window. I had a water bottle on the sill, and I just wanted a drink. Normal, routine. Except when I looked out into the yard, there was a girl standing there. She was around my age. And I want to be careful about how I say this because it matters later. She was beautiful, like genuinely stunning, standing perfectly still near the edge of the property at 12 in the morning. I cracked the window open, asked who she was, asked why she was there. She just smiled at me, and then she walked away and told myself it was nothing. A neighbor, someone passing through. I went back to sleep. The next night, same time, I felt this pull. I don't know how else to describe it. Not like someone calling my name, more like pressure. Like a hand on the back of your neck pushing you toward the window. I looked out and she was there again, same spot. This time she was motioning for me to come outside. I ran downstairs. I actually ran. By the time I got outside, she was gone. This went on for almost a week, and then, one night, I decided I wasn't going to let her disappear again. The moment she appeared, I flew down the stairs and burst through the door. She was still there. We talked, or she talked, mostly. She told me she lived in an apartment nearby, that she'd seen me walking to school, that she'd wanted to meet me for a while. She was warm and easy to talk to, and I completely lowered my guard. And then seeing her just became part of my life. She'd appear, I'd go outside, we'd walk for hours. I looked forward to it. During the day, I'd catch myself thinking about her constantly. I couldn't concentrate in school. I didn't care. Then, one night, she led me back to the graveyard. I didn't realize where we were going until we were already there. And the second we stepped inside, something shifted. Something in the air, or in her, I don't know. She stopped walking. She turned around, and I saw what she actually was. From the front, she still looked human. From the back, I don't have the right words. There was no skin, no flesh, just bones. Just a skeleton rotting where the back of a person should have been. My legs stopped working. I didn't run. I couldn't. I just dropped. I woke up the next morning on the ground, alone, and ran home. I told my mom everything. She took me to the hospital that day. They ran tests, blood work, everything. All normal. Doctors said I was probably just stressed, probably not sleeping enough. They sent me home. That night, she appeared in my room. Not outside, not in the yard. In my room, standing at the foot of my bed, she sat on the edge of the mattress and started whispering to me, "Bring me food. I want meat, raw meat." I'm writing this out and I know how it sounds, but I was 16 years old and whatever was sitting on my bed was not something I could rationalize away. I could feel the weight of it. I could hear it breathing. I stopped going to school. She wouldn't let me leave the house during the day. At night, she'd pace the room, throw herself against the walls, make sounds that didn't come from any living thing. I started losing weight. I stopped eating. I'd just lie there and wait for it to get dark again and dread it getting dark again. Then she started demanding blood, fresh animal blood and raw meat. And when I said no, she grabbed my throat. Both hands, invisible but absolutely real, lifting me off the mattress. She'd whisper in my ear that if I didn't do what she wanted, she'd kill me. Then she'd kill my family. I gave in. I'm not proud of it, but I was terrified and exhausted, and I gave in. One night my mom heard the noise. She knocked on my door, and whatever was in the room vanished through the window instantly, like it was yanked out. When my mom came in, she froze in the doorway. There was blood on the closet walls, bloody footprints going up the wall, raw meat on the floor. She didn't say anything for a long moment. Then she said, "We're going back to the hospital tomorrow." Every test came back normal. Again, but things kept getting worse. I couldn't walk without my legs shaking. I could barely hold a glass of water. I lost so much weight, my clothes didn't fit. And then one night, she looked at me with this expression, almost peaceful, and she said, "Your time is over. Tomorrow, I'm taking you with me." That was the night I broke down completely. I told my mom everything. I begged her to help me. My dad reached out to some people, asked around. Someone suggested a priest. When the priest saw me, he stopped. He looked at me the way you look at someone who's been in a car accident, that flash of seeing how bad it actually is before you can cover it up. And he said, quietly, if this young man had come even one day later, no one could have helped him. The ritual took 2 full days. Candles, prayer, holy water. I don't know exactly what he did. I just know that on the second day, something lifted, literally lifted, like something I hadn't noticed was sitting on my chest had finally gotten up. Afterward, he explained everything. He said when I urinated in that graveyard, I had desecrated the grave of a young woman buried there. Her spirit had attached to me, followed me home, and it had been feeding off me ever since, slowly. He gave my family holy water and told them to go through every room. She never came back. I'm completely fine now. I have a career, a normal life. I don't talk about this much because I know what it sounds like, but I'll say this. I have never, not once, disrespected a grave since that night. I don't care if it's a bet. I don't care if it's $100. Some places carry weight that you can't see. And just because nothing happens in the moment doesn't mean nothing is paying attention. Something was watching that afternoon in the woods, and it followed me all the way home. Stay safe out there.